Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Astral Tourists. This astral projection experience was actually inspired by Astral Club's account about the alien satellite known as Black Knight. I found that episode extremely fascinating and decided to begin making intentions to visit the Epsilon Eridani region of space. I've been under the weather physically lately with summer allergies and a little bit of a cold, so I thought this would take much longer to achieve. Definitely check out his channel. He has very interesting accounts and experiences while astral projecting, and lots of how-tos, and he's just got a great channel overall, so definitely check that out. But the episode that inspired me was the one he recently did about the alien satellite known as the Black Knight. Okay, so the exit from my physical body, in this case, took me completely by surprise this time. Now, usually on a direct exit as I'm falling asleep, I float or pull away. Sometimes I'll try a roll out, but not usually. I use commands. I do all of these various methods. But last night, the moment I set my intention to project out to the Epsilon Eridani region, everything simply shifted. Instead of a smooth separation, my entire field of awareness was overtaken by intense localized micro vibrations. So these weren't like earthquake shaking vibrations. They were like micro ones encapsulating me. And what they did was it felt like they were just activating all along my energy body and as like encapsulating me or encapsulating my energy body in a thin sheath. Like I could feel it all around my astral body. I could feel my astral body. And then these shifting colors flooded into my field of vision. And usually I don't see very well until I'm out, but I could see like shifting colors. And then I had a heavy blackout phase. I couldn't see anything after the shifting colors. Yet I had an undeniable absolute certainty I was no longer in my physical room or physical body. I simply somehow shifted or phased or teleported out. Your guess is as good as mine. I was encapsulated and off I went. So I was out somewhere deep in the cosmos, going in and out of lucidity for a while. So blackout phases aren't uncommon, especially when traveling long distances in the astral. And I knew to expect that. It's just the way that it happened is what surprised me the most with this whole encapsulation vibe. So when my astral sight finally returned, I was suspended in open space, looking down at a massive, breathtaking planet. It was a world of vast oceans, sharp, jagged mountain ranges, and there were these other areas with peaks that were completely flat and squarish, smoothly geometric, and they had rounded edges. Now, in the picture, it shows that they had green tops, but they didn't. They were just stone of whatever kind, orangish color, really. But they had squarish tops, and in this one area that I was exploring, there was like a set of 4 of them as far as I could see, and then the jagged mountains were further off. But also there were streaks of vibrant green fields that streaked through the landscape, and some were way larger than others. I could instantly sense the heavy presence of intelligent life down there. So this is before I even came down into the planet. So orbiting the planet were these massive rocks and asteroids. Even though they didn't form a distinct solid ring structure from my perspective, I didn't have a panoramic view at that point. And I didn't have full 360 vision. I mean, I was still just, you could say, getting stabilized. So these were everywhere. I was in my misty form. Some were like going right through me. And I couldn't resist the urge to try and take a ride on one of these. And I probably risked the possibility of waking up by doing that. But I've always wanted to try riding one. So I moved towards one, made myself a bit more solid so I would be able to grab hold of it. And what I did was I laid on this large one on my stomach with my arms grabbing onto it overhead. The texture of it felt rough, like a piece of cosmic granite, and it had striking streaks of white and orange throughout it. What I hadn't anticipated was the physics of it. When I was being in more observer mode, it didn't really look like it was moving that fast. And the moment I got a little bit more solid and latched onto this thing, I realized the chunk was actually curving, twisting, and spinning through its orbit in space very quickly, super speed. And, of course, it makes perfect sense in hindsight that it would be turning and spinning. But it caught me a little bit off guard, as I really thought it was one of the more steadier looking chunks. I was expecting more of a smooth ride, maybe not totally smooth, but instead I'm getting like this wild ride. So that was fun for a while. And as my vision adjusted and sharpened, I could see further ahead as I was getting more stabilized in this area. And I saw that even larger, sharper twists and turns were coming up in orbit, and there were lots of these chunks, which makes me think that this is a ringed planet. But again, I hadn't panned out enough to, be sure that the ring went all the way around or not. But not wanting to get thrown or too disoriented before I could explore the planet itself, I made the decision to lightly push off of it and, leave my impromptu cosmic surfboard there behind. I just didn't want to risk waking up too soon before I could even explore the planet. So sadly, I let that go. It was way better than any roller coaster I've ever been on. And so anyway, I aimed myself toward a wide patch of green on the planet's surface where I could sense a gathering was taking place. There were a number of beings down there, and that's where I always try to kind of aim somewhere new so I can ask questions. The gravity here felt incredibly light, making it effortless to navigate the skies. So I glided down, and I noticed the landscape was, again, mostly covered in sweeping grass-like plains rather than dense forests. Now, I don't actually recall seeing any forests at all, but, I wasn't able to explore everywhere. I mean, there might be some forest out there, I don't know, but I mainly saw the mountains and these grass plain areas. So I landed near a group of people who were sitting around and talking. The inhabitants looked humanoid, but they were distinctly thin, standing about 4 feet tall, like 4 to 5 feet, with strikingly powder pale white skin. Now, they reminded me a lot of the aliens known as the Tall Whites, except they weren't very tall. And there are some theories that the Tall White alien planet is in the Epsilon Eridani region. But I'm not a super expert on all of that. Maybe you can chime in and let me know what you think. But these looked a lot like them, only they were 4 to 5 feet tall. And I approached an older looking gentleman with white hair and asked him the name of the planet. And to my surprise, he looked at me and said he couldn't remember. It felt like an odd thing to forget, and he seemed just as confused by my ignorance, asking me back why I didn't already know. So it's actually not that uncommon to encounter only partly lucid people, aliens, and beings. So I explained that I was just a visitor from a distant world, and intrigued by that, he actually got a little bit more lucid, and he asked me where I was from. So I told him our planet is called Earth, located in a spiral galaxy far, far away. and that it is smaller but carries a much heavier gravity than his home. So seeking a clearer answer, I floated over to a row of women sitting nearby. I apologized for interrupting them and projected a telepathic question to the whole group of them, asking if anyone could tell me the name of this world. One of them looked up. She looked like she was about in her 30s, maybe 40s. I don't know. It's hard to tell ages, especially with other species and beings. But she looked younger than some of the others, and confidently responded with the name Juno. And I knew instantly that my own mind was translating some type of a language barrier, and interpreting their native tongue into a word that I could comprehend. But I accepted it gratefully, thanked her, and took to the sky again to go exploring. I figured that was the best translation I was going to end up getting. So of course in Roman mythology, Juno is the queen of the gods and the wife of Jupiter. Sorry for my voice. Again, I have a small cold. So she is the Roman counterpart of the Greek goddess Hera. My best guess to a translation based on that is their word for their planet likely means something feminine, powerful, and nurturing, all at the same time. But please let me know what you think it could translate to in the comments. I'm really curious what others think about this. So exploring the mid-atmosphere was like flying through a high-tech sci-fi landscape. And, I had not noticed any cities or anything at that point, so I wasn't sure what else I was going to find. And again, I didn't have a chance to explore the whole place because it was too massive. So at one point, a sleek black drone went buzzing by me. It didn't seem interested in me. I just saw it there. And later, I spotted a massive V-shaped craft cruising through the air. And this is more in the mid-atmosphere, like higher up, but not out into space yet. It was much larger and longer than any jet on Earth. It was stark white on the sides and the bottom, but the top was detailed with bold orange and black markings that strongly reminded me of the patterns of a tiger. And that made me wonder if this world possessed its own version of wild predatory cats. I mean, I don't know. It's anyone's guess. But that's what I saw. And it didn't take any notice of me either. So I was happy about that. It was pretty massive. At one point, I had thought about diving into the ocean, but I wasn't sure about it as I didn't know what to expect. And again, I didn't want to risk waking up too fast from being startled or something. And so earlier at the park is when I had actually been, the grassy park is when I had actually been thinking about that. And someone had telepathed to me, reassuring me that there were no dangerous creatures in the ocean depths, which I found really intriguing. So I'm wondering, like, what's in there then, but I still decided to save the ocean dive for later, choosing instead to keep exploring the mountains and the upper atmosphere. Eventually, my goal was to push back out into deep space to get a more macro view of the entire planet, because I wanted to see once and for all if those asteroids formed a true ring system like Saturn's. I wanted to see if they went all the way around, because I never did find that out on entry while I was still stabilizing. But just as I was pushing past the atmosphere to get back out into space, I got that familiar pull back to my physical body. I never did find out if I successfully really made it to Epsilon Eridani, since communication was a huge issue. I was lucky to get the words and translations that I did. But the mystery of Juno and its spinning asteroids remains. I mean, I think I made it there to Epsilon Eridani, but I was never able to confirm it. So I would love to hear everybody's comments about this, about the tall white aliens not being tall, and anything else that comes to mind. I would love to hear about it. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, happy astral travels.